The Galactic Defense Council had seen many species attempt their trials. The Kithera with their diamond-hard carapaces, the Vorthak with their energy-absorbing biosuits, the crystalline Zilani who could restructure their molecular composition at will, all had failed the Crucible worlds. 7 planets designed to test the absolute limits of personal protection technology. Commander Thexhai clicked his mandibles nervously as he watched the human approach the testing chamber. The creature was smaller than most sentient species, with soft pink skin barely covered by what appeared to be primitive fabric. Most disturbing of all, it was smiling. "You understand the nature of these tests, human Marcus?" Thexhai's translator rendered his words in the strange melodic tones of Earthspeak. Marcus Chen adjusted the straps on his backpack and grinned wider. 7 worlds, 7 different ways to die horribly. Got it. When do we start? The first world was Pyrrhion 7th, where the surface temperature reached 3,000 degrees Celsius and molten metal rained from crimson skies. Previous test subjects had lasted mere seconds before their most advanced shielding systems failed catastrophically. The viewing committee watched their instruments as Marcus's shuttle descended through the hellish atmosphere. "His craft's thermal readings are impossible," whispered Dr. Yolandra, the Zilani scientist. "The hull should be vapor by now." On their screens, they watched Marcus emerge from his shuttle wearing what appeared to be a simple metallic suit. He began walking across the surface, occasionally stopping to collect samples of the molten rock. When a meteor shower of liquid titanium began, he simply raised a small umbrella-like device and continued his stroll. "Temperature inside his suit reads 23.7 degrees Celsius, reported the monitoring station. Well within human comfort parameters. After 6 hours, Marcus returned to his shuttle, his suit glowing cherry red but intact. As he lifted off, he transmitted a brief message. "Nice beach weather. Could use a good sunscreen, though." The second trial was frost, where absolute zero had been achieved across the planet's surface. Ice crystals moved like living things seeking to drain every quantum of heat from anything they touched. The monitoring equipment could barely function in such conditions. Marcus emerged wearing what looked like a puffy jacket and thick boots. He spent 12 hours building what appeared to be a shelter from the living ice itself, somehow convincing the crystalline formations to arrange themselves into a protective dome. Inside, he made tea. By the third world, pressure, where gravitational forces would crush diamond into powder, the committee had stopped making predictions. They simply watched in stunned silence as Marcus descended to the surface in what he called just a basic exosuit, and proceeded to do jumping jacks in gravity that should have flattened him into constituent atoms. The fourth trial, Acid, featured an atmosphere of concentrated corrosive compounds that could dissolve quantum-bonded materials in minutes. Marcus spent the day fishing in a lake of what was essentially weaponized solvent, using a line and hook he'd fashioned from materials found on the planet. He caught something that looked like it was made of pure dissolution, and somehow cooked it for lunch. Radiation, the fifth world, bombarded everything with enough exotic particles to rewrite the fundamental forces of physics. Marcus's detector clicked frantically as he collected samples, humming what he claimed was an old Earth tune about atomic energy. His radiation badge, a primitive piece of film that should have been black within seconds, remained stubbornly clear. The sixth trial, Void, existed in a pocket of space where reality itself was unstable. Matter phase shifted randomly between dimensions, and the very concept of existing became negotiable. The committee lost sensor contact immediately. 3 days later, Marcus's shuttle emerged from the dimensional pocket with a message. Found some interesting physics in there. Brought souvenirs. The samples he'd collected were materials that shouldn't exist, following physical laws that made the committee's scientists weep with joy and terror. The seventh and final world was simply called End. It was designed to be impossible. A planet where every previous trial existed simultaneously. Pyrrhion's heat, frost's cold, pressure's gravity, acid's corrosion, radiation's bombardment, and Void's dimensional instability all occupied the same space in a cosmic joke that hurt to contemplate. Marcus descended to End's surface in what he cheerfully described as the good armor. The committee's instruments showed readings that violated everything they understood about physics, biology, and common sense. Their screens displayed a figure walking calmly through what could only be described as the universe's most enthusiastic attempt at murder. He spent a full week on end, sending daily reports that sounded like vacation updates. Day 3. Found a nice spot where the gravity shifts let me do backflips through lava rain. The dimensional fish here taste like purple. Making good time on the sample collection. When Marcus finally returned to the orbital station, his armor was indeed toasted, blackened, pitted, and glowing with residual energies that their sensors couldn't identify. But as the airlock cycled and he removed his helmet, that impossible human smile was brighter than ever. "Well?" Commander Thexahai asked, not sure he wanted to hear the answer. Marcus unloaded sample containers that seemed to exist in several dimensions simultaneously. "Your armor testing needs work," he said, pulling off his gloves. "These trials would barely qualify as safety standards back home. You should see what we put our construction workers through." He paused, considering. "Though I'll admit, the dimensional fish on end were pretty tasty. Mind if I go back for the weekend? I promised my daughter I'd bring her something interesting." The Galactic Defense Council unanimously voted to never again question human engineering standards. In their official report, they noted that humanity's definition of basic protective equipment appeared to make their most advanced military technologies look like decorative paper. Marcus Chen was formally inducted as the first human member of the Galactic Defense Council's Equipment Testing Division. His business card, printed on metal that had been forged in the heart of a star, simply read, "We'll test anything. Satisfaction guaranteed. Bring lunch." The committee kept the samples from end in a vault that required 17 different safety protocols to open. Marcus had labeled them with a piece of tape that read, "Tuesday's rocks. Pretty normal stuff." None of them ever asked what humanity considered abnormal,